Hello, welcome to another episode of Straight Outta Stanton. A very busy week actually. We asked for a lot of stuff to talk about, and we did get it
Yep.
through
Finally got
ISC
some ISC and SCLs
and
that are
actually try
chock full.
SCL, yeah, which is kind
Yeah.
of unexpected, but sometimes that happens as well. And to a huge surprise, we will probably disagree on some things big time.
Yeah. No, we're going to.
But let's start with like what was usual, like what we did, and I didn't do anything. I streamed, played Final Fantasy 14, played World of Warcraft.
I
Nothing
played
major.
some more Stellaris a little bit, but yesterday I got to go hang out with Sigelian, who has been doing pizza streams at his place on Saturday, where he makes like a bunch of pizza dough, makes a bunch of pizza, and this week specifically, he was doing some contributions for the Intergalactic Cook-Off. So he did like some crazy looking alien pizzas, like with squid ink dyed dough, so it was like black dough, and yeah, and he said he was gonna make way too much for him to eat, so he recruited me for the very difficult task of drinking beer and eating pizza.
Well, to be fair, I mean, we're gonna have a link in the description, or maybe we can save it for Stanton gossip. But I saw that pizza on Twitter. You posted it, and
Yeah,
bro, I don't know. You say it's tasty.
It's so good though.
I don't know if I would put that in my mouth, to be honest.
I
But
know. I brought a bunch of extra pizza home for Lee and Kim, and they were like, "I'm not eating that."
It's spot on, bro. It's super, like, it's alien pizza.
It looks like
definitely.
alien guts on pizza. Yeah.
Super cool. All right, so I'm gonna change something this time, as I mentioned last episode. And basically, I'm just gonna go quickly over what we're going to do, so that people who are interested in that can actually browse through the what's the name, timestamps under the this window where you're seeing us. So first thing, we're gonna have the news, where we're gonna cover a lot of stuff actually, which happened in ISC and then SCL as well. So it's going to be a really long, probably over an hour news section. And then after that, our topic is going to be about gold standard ships, where we will break down why we think gold standard does not really mean probably what we were told it means, kind of, sort of.
Yeah. Or don't understand how it can.
Or
honestly,
maybe we misunderstood it, yeah, or something like that. Like, so we disagree with what it is, probably. I mean, with CIG, not between us. And then we have Imagination Station, where we kind of have like two topics that cross over in a way. One is the ship locked content, as in like, could for example, mining ships be the only ships that can mine or scan for minables and stuff like that. And also we're going to touch on other vehicles, such as maybe boats or something like that.
He says, surprising absolutely no one.
but I have like there's some other stuff, like I really want to talk about like faster means of movement on foot, in a way, like hoverboards or stuff like that, because we'll talk about it. Exosuits, yeah, bunch of stuff. And then we actually have this week, we have Masa's Absolute Zero Effort Science section, which will be about cloning. And after that, we're gonna have Q&A, if we have any questions in the chat. But yeah, with that said, we're gonna hop over to the news. Holy crap, dude! Like the ISC this week was enough. It's so crazy. Like last week, ISC and SCL were crap, and well, they were not crap, but like we did not get what we needed, right?
Yeah, we just didn't learn anything.
And then you get everything in like these. It's just like crazy.
This is what is it? There was the one where they did scanning, where they did the ISC about scanning, and then they did an SCL about scanning too. Like that was another one where they just did a double bang, like double dump kind of a thing.
But this one felt like more like you got a lot of
game design
content,
stuff.
yeah, in IC will like a lot of value in it and all that, and then you got SCL, which was like huge as well.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
I like the STLs with the game design team, so
True.
that one's going to
Very
be.
good.
There's a lot to dig into in there.
Because they explain things like it makes
Yeah.
it more down to earth, and yeah.
Well, that's it. Like you get an idea. Like obviously, all the stuff they're talking about is like in development. So like, who knows when we're actually going to get it? But you get an idea at least about like where they're planning on going.
Yeah.
Like which is always really fun.
Okay.
ISC though, man.
Let's start with the problematic one for me.
Okay.
It's the Xeno or Xeno thread is being redone. And I actually like what I've heard. They said that they looked into it, they got a bunch of data from it. And there were some things that they want to change around. The whole flow, the way the phases happen, the ships itself, all of that.
Just like from right off the bat, I think like the fact that they just flat out said like we got a bunch of we saw a bunch of like how people were playing it, we got a bunch of feedback from people, and and they basically kind of like took it back to the drawing board and then like redid it. I think that's cool. That's what I like to hear, you know what I mean? Because it was a really fun event. There were obviously issues with it, but yeah.
I love and hate what I've heard there. So the moment I started watching SC, and after 3 minutes of IC, I wrote in my Discord that I hate the fact that they're bringing it back. And then you answered to it. I don't know like the exact words, but what you said was true, because when they launched Xenothreat or announced it, they specifically stated that this is a one-time event. If you blink, you miss it, and stuff like that. And I was strongly against this for two reasons. One, we are playing an alpha where you guys are testing things. So why make it a one-time event? What are we going to learn from it? How are you going to test it? Right?
Well, yeah, like, and I get it from the perspective of like a lore perspective. It doesn't make sense to have repeating events, but as you point out, we're not really at that state in the game now where like
it's
big
alpha.
Story events should necessarily be happening.
That was my other thing. Like once the people who are actually buying the game, and majority of players will hopefully buy the game when the game comes out, and guess what? They missed the event that was happening during an alpha. So I was really, really against this. I don't like it. I think it's okay to have some things before the game launches, but I don't think people should miss on content because they were not there during the alpha. So I'm okay with people having like whatever jackets or titles or I don't know, specific,
like a
paint job or badge or
yeah,
that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But if you start playing the game on day one and someone comes and says, back in my days, 20 years ago, we did Xenothreat, and you're like, wait, what? There was an event already, but it just started playing. I dislike that big time.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know. Like I guess maybe I'm used to it because I've played a bunch of different projects or in various stages of the development. Like for example, Dual Universe. I was playing with a guy who had been there since like the alpha of Dual Universe, and he had some like, I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was like a skin or something for his character or something. That was like an alpha perk that he got for being a part of the alpha, and I was like, well, okay, whatever.
No, but that's again, that's what I'm saying. That's okay with me. Like physical things, I don't give a crap. But this is part of the lore, part of the gameplay, part of like how.
I get that, but like, the main thing for me there is like, how is it really different than if you started the game and I don't know, like for me, I saw this as like something to basically just hammer down something that was going to be a part of the lore anyways when the game started, and they just used it as a way to test kind of these new kind of more story-driven missions at the same time. But them rolling it back and saying that they're going to basically redo it, to me kind of says that they realize that this is an alpha. It's why, like, even though technically according to the lore the Xenothreat invasion already happened, You know, like it was a fun event. They learned from it, they tweaked it, and now they're going to put it, you know, back in, even though it doesn't make sense in the lore, because it was a fun event and they made it better. So,
well, there's my problem. Did they say that? No. They're just like 6 months later. By the way, we were working for 6 months on this Xenothreat event that we said that's not going to happen, and they don't say anything about like why, you know, like how come now it's back or whatever. Like everything you said was a lie. Then, like what, you know, why were we not? Again, the communication. It's always a communication. Like my problem.
They should have communicated it better for sure. But, or rather, they could have. But at the same time, like I don't know, like it's dev, it's fluid. You know, like maybe here's the other thing, man. Like if they rolled Xenothreat out and they were like, this is going to be a one-time thing. For all we know, they could have meant that, and then they could have just been like, you know what, actually, you know, like
sure, and that's when you say, you know what,
yeah. So there you go. Like they could have said something there, but
exactly. And here's another thing. Like I want them to talk about this more because this deepens the mistrust that I have with them. Somehow I have to like explain this properly. Like I don't think the development is lying to player base. I just think that the bridge between development and player base is fucking
it's
shifting or whatever. It's not like a real bridge, whatever. And
for sure, the gap is definitely widening, and they feel a little bit more distant as they get bigger and they become more corporate, and they have legal and marketing saying you can't say this, blah 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 blah. I get that,
but this 100%. Doesn't feel like something that has anything to do with marketing, though, right? Like replaying the event.
I just mean in general.
I know, I agree. But like every little thing for me adds. Now I'm on this, you know, branch where like I'm almost like hunting for them not telling me what I need, and it just adds up. What I would like, sorry, just to finish my previous train of thought, is like I would like them to have these, sure, it can be one-time event that will happen one time when the game launches. And until the game launches, we're gonna re-roll this event as many times as we need until we make it perfect so we can use it as a platform for when the game launches, because guess what, we're playing alpha. So I'm only talking about these lore, like big event. It's a big fucking event, dude. Like I don't know, for me this is, you know, if there's a javelin tour it's great, you know, but
or even the nine tails lockdown, it's like not a really big momentous
exactly
kind of event.
I mean, because that might happen again in the future and whatever, right?
Oh, it's absolutely going to. It's basically a template, right? Like it just means pirates are locking down.
Exactly. But if you can bring another, like let's say they say, oh, this is the only time you're gonna be able to see the jammer, the javelin. What's the name? Hammerfell or Hammerfall or something like that. Warhammer. There we go. But guess what? Like you can see a javelin that has another name in 10 years. Docking in whatever other port. So it's, you know what I mean? Like that's not that big of a deal. But if you say Xenothreat is once in a lifetime, let's make it once in a lifetime after the game launches, and then reroll it as many fucking times as you want. I have zero problems with this. I think it's great. First for gameplay, but more importantly because then they can actually flesh it out and, you know, see how we react to it. Why is it important that it's one time now? Like, who cares?
Well, but again, like I don't really think it's important that it's one time necessarily. What like I said, what I interpret this as is that if you were joining this game on day one, the Xenothreat invasion of Stanton would have been part of the lore.
Why?
Because they were writing it basically to set up that kind of tension between Pyro, the people who are ruling in the Pyro system, and Stanton, and that was going to be part of the lore anyways. They just, you know, decided to make it an event to test it.
But you made a whole event. Why not make it a one time a month into the game and then it's in the lore? What's the point of this? Why would you lock yourself out of this content before the game launches?
And honestly, at this point, we don't even know if that's still the intention. Given that
that's the problem.
Re-rolled it. Yeah.
Please tell me what's the intention. And if you change the intention, that's okay. But tell me what's the intention. Basically, my issue with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. It doesn't bother me as much, but for the most part, I still am overall positive about it because I like the fact that they took a look at it, saw how it worked, and saw what worked, what didn't, and then said we can do better, and then did it. Hopefully, I mean, remains to be seen. Because ultimately, and this is your note.
I mean, they can make it worse, and that's fine. Then they can make it again, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Like I have literally zero problems with that.
Yeah. One of the ones that, I mean, we kind of brushed over this, but one of the things that they're changing is they're making it so that the event, instead of having the phases where like phase 1 went for like a week or whatever, and then phase 2 went for, a week. And because nobody knew that was phase 1. And then phase 2 went for, I don't know, however long, is like a week or 2 or something like that. And then there was phase 3 for a week. So basically you just had like, in phase 2, it was like everybody's just doing those cargo box missions and doing some fighting around the station, and that's just like the only thing in the event that happens. So now they're changing it so that it goes from phase 2 to phase 3 in the same session. So you go from resupplying the javelin to fighting in phase 3 in one kind of continuous loop, which is neat. I hope that works. I'm really curious to see. The other thing that was a huge problem with the first Xeno threat was friendly fire, because there's so many ships flying around, and the friendly fire system that we have is like so draconian that if you even scrape the paint of another player or security, you go red. Everybody mobs you because you're red.
I am really curious to see how this goes, because friendly fire was my favorite and least favorite part of the whole event. My favorite part was because on purpose I was flying in a smaller ship, in a Titan. I was flying in a Titan, and I really have to pay a lot of attention to kind of miss all the ballistic, lines of bullets flying around, and that made it so much more fun for me, because if something hits me like a fucking hammerhead, I'm just gonna explode, right? And they're gonna go to the jail as well, so I want to help them out and myself and all that. So I want that part to stay. I just want that. What they said is like, I don't want to send people to prison.
Going away.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just there's a little bit more tolerance here,
That's all we need, like more. And then maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Let's see, but that's how I would like it, and that's what they're trying. So that's great. I like that.
Yeah, but the one thing that they haven't said anything about, and this is your note here, are they going back down to 40-person servers for this? Because like if we're keeping it at 50 players, man, like I'm sorry, but I just can't see these events being much fun with the desync and shit that we have right now. Like imagine this, like with the new, so they've tweaked the friendly fire, so it's not so bad or whatever, and but you're in there and desync is still going strong, and you think you're shooting into the side of that Idris, but in reality, because of the desync, some player has basically got teleports in front of you, gets shot a whole bunch because you basically just holding down the trigger. There you go. It doesn't even matter that the friendly fire tolerance has been increased, because turns out you've been basically firing full guns into this guy for like 30 seconds solid, but you haven't noticed because of desync. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like that's where I'm at, right? Like, unless we get some serious improvements to server performance, I can't really see this being something that's fun to play.
But on the other hand, since I've started playing this game, the best server performance was during Xenothreat. So let's see how that goes.
We've discussed that it was like probably a variety of reasons there. One being like everybody, or the majority of people, were in the same spot. So object container streaming and server-side object container streaming were able to do their jobs, basically. But
my note was all for that, though, but I'm glad it sparked this conversation.
Oh, okay.
My note for something else. So they announced Ninetales event, which is much shorter one, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm looking forward to as well. But then they announced smaller events. Or how was it? The scanning stuff as well.
Oh, that was the Ninetales one. Yeah. So like the phase 1 of Ninetales is like you start hearing chatter about there being increased pirate activity in an area. Then phase 2 is there's a blockade that's slowing down quantum travel in a particular area in the Crusader system, and there's missions that are generated to go out and either, I guess, escort ships that are scanning, maybe, or actually do the scanning. I'm not really sure. And the pirates get a counter mission for that as well. So you're basically out there
Yeah,
trying
you're
to kill the
splitting,
people who are
right?
scanning.
Now
Yeah.
they're making this better because they're giving both sides of the table, or all three kind of sides, probably, because some people just do like the neutral stuff, whatever, like hauling or whatever the fuck, if it's doable. They're giving them content, which is great. However, my problem with this was we have enough players for something like this to actually be interesting, especially with 40, because we probably need 40. I mean, this is, again, we don't know, but like, I guess we're gonna have 40 again, or even less, which in general I don't mind, because whatever, I'd rather have good performance. It's bad for PvP, but PvP is bad anyways right now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like, you know,
with the desync the way it is, it's like, whatever.
and even with 50 there's not enough people anyways for PvPers to enjoy their gameplay. But but like this, no one can. But the problem is, if you only have 40 people on a server, 20 of them are mining or AFKing, if you have enough people for something like that, to have like people on both sides,
I guess we'll see.
Just
I mean,
afraid
we
that
did with
this is-
Xenothreat. Like, Xenothreat had most of the server there.
Sure, but it was the first time
two.
ever for something like that to happen. And if you remember, like, as they even made it short, the last phase they made it shorter, but last 2 or 3 days of phase 3, like, you just couldn't find people to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So
that was the other thing. Sorry, kind of an aside with this was that this whole mission, this whole event is only supposed to last about 4 hours. So like, so that's what they said basically. Like, the Ninetales lockdown is going to be a smaller, shorter event that happens across a period of about 4 hours, then shuts down, and then like respawns. I don't know, assuming it respawns like an hour or two later or something like that, and repeats.
Doesn't matter, but at some point, maybe like in 4 hours, so they can have like whatever. We don't know this, but
say though that the intention for this one is that it's supposed to be a recurring event that's just basically one of a bunch of different random smaller events that'll get like triggered, which is something that they kind of talked about in the Tony Z video. So this is basically them saying that they're intending 3.14 rollout for this. You know, it's going to be eventually one of 3 or 4 other events that basically can get triggered at random, presuming like, you know, at various points in the solar system. I guess we'll find out. But I guess like even if it ends up there being like only 10 people participating in this, if it's lucrative and there's 10 people kind of doing it, like, it still might be worth doing. Like, if your intention is to make money, and it's, you know, and maybe you only encounter like 1 or 2 pirates along the way, but that still could end up being, it's still more player engagement than you get on average, you know, when you're just playing the regular version of the game. So
I just hope they have that like in their like whatever calculations, because you know what, this might turn out to be a disaster.
Yeah, it's possible.
They might reroll Xenothreat, and 3 streamers are doing it and no one else, and I don't know. Or, you know, and then the other one, if it like keeps happening on every for like couple times a day or whatever, then it's another ECN alert or whatever, you know, well, for help, or it just turns into that, and people might just not do it. Just like
possible.
And then they talked about this like on a grander scale later on. If we don't respond, this faction takes over, you know, whatever they were trying to get, let's say PO or whatever, and then you have to fight to get it back and all that. Now then it makes sense, but you can't do that with different server shards, right? Which goes into more and more, and I don't know.
See, but the way that they described it is when they're dealing with the server shards initially, it's going to be the aggregate result, which kind of determines whether or not the station flips permanently. But But
I
in
know
this
we talked
particular
about
case,
this.
like I know, like it would be really frustrating if on your server
You win.
you went and you win, you liberated PO, and it's not, you know, like all you got was money and a pat on the back, and like, oh, good job, but port all the stars. It's like Mario, your princess is in another castle.
Yeah.
It's always another damn castle.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
That's...
don't know. Yeah, I don't think that they'll be. I don't think that they'll end up being that permanent victory condition yet for Ninetales. That's my guess. I think it'll probably just go and it'll be either like pirates win or security wins, and then event concluded. That's what I think.
Okay.
The other thing they said we're gonna get is Jumptown 2, which is gonna be it'll be a Gold Rush style event if Jumptown is anything, and that'll be another kind of similar one that goes into the rotation with Ninetales Lockdown and stuff like that. I know that you had an issue with them using Jumptown 2 as a title because maybe it is a little bit like, intentionally hyping, but I like
It's
the
also
idea
cheap.
of Gold Rush gameplay. Like, that whole like there's a glut of really high value materials here, and whoever can control this area gets those, gets access to those. I like that gameplay style. So hopefully that one ends up being cool.
This is one of those things where I'm like, if and when it happens, I can talk about it.
Yeah.
Right now, I
for
think
sure.
it's super lame that you're using the name that you already implemented into your lore that was made by community. I think it's super debating name, and I think it's super lame and lazy if you actually keep that name when it actually happens. Like if you're just using it to explain to people what kind of event, sure, again, communication, tell us if that's your actual name.
I would be really surprised if that were the actual name. Like, I think it'll be an alpha name because it's the easiest way to convey to people what the gameplay is going to be.
Sure.
But yeah,
let's see.
Because, like, for example, like Jumptown is just the name of the depot, right? Like, what happens if it's happening over in Hurston, or at the orphanage or something, right? Like, that's technically the same outpost, but
how lame is Jumptown 2, man? I don't know.
Yeah, it works for, like you said, it works for the time being because everybody, like most people know what Jumptown is, right? So like all they have to do is see Jumptown 2 and you have an idea about what that gameplay is going to be like.
Sure.
So yeah, for now, I agree with you. If they stick with it, that's pretty lazy. But so I guess that was that section of the ISC. The dynamic event system apparently we're going to start seeing these kind of rotations, and hopefully the servers can handle it because it would make things more alive than they are currently, which is pretty static. Anything else?
No, it's
Okay.
like it's just like I don't really know if. Let's see when it comes and happens, because Xenothread as well was announced and then it was delayed and and then there was nothing for 6 months and now they're announcing it because it was a hit. But then again they said 314, but not like when in 314 and
I hear you.
Man.
Well, that's kind of where I am. Like I said, I mean, like this whole thing, it's like, okay, this is cool, but unless we get the server performance that makes it worth playing, again, we'll just have to see when it comes out.
This to me is defibrillator, basically, if I'm being honest. Like,
you got to use the defibrillator if you need to, and right now,
but
let's be honest, you need to.
When you wake a person up, you need to have something for them as well. Because if you just wake them up and then just let them die, then it's even worse, right? Like, what the fuck are you doing? So whenever I say we need something because of how long and painful this drought is, this is, for me, this is not what we need. Like, cool, it doesn't hurt, but after this long of a wait, for me personally, This will
no,
not
I hear
do
you.
it. Neither will Crusader or another ship. I don't care, man. Like, we need server meshing. You know, we need something. We need a new profession. We need something, dude. Like, something
Yep.
really new.
Something. Yes, I agree. Yeah, but like you said, this can't hurt. You know. Or well,
It hurts me.
Never
Like,
mind.
I'll tell you right now. Like, I'm not going to log in for any of this. I don't care.
That's fine.
I'm going to look it up
See,
on
That's
YouTube.
the thing. Like, that's fine too. Like, I may or may not either. Even like, I didn't log in for most of Xenothread. Actually, I caught the last bit of Phase 2, but like from what I was seeing, it wasn't enough to make me kind of want to jump back in and play again. And that's fine too, right? Like, I
It's
got
not.
to go and experience a little bit of it.
It's not fine.
Yeah.
For me, it's not fine.
Okay.
Especially
But,
as someone who wants to play this game and as someone who wants to create content for this game, it's definitely not fine. It sucks. It's shit. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm used to it. Like I said, I've been here for so long that
No,
I'm
but-
just
okay.
like, this has been the way it is.
Let me just ask you something.
Sure.
If something is gross, but you are used to it, does it make it any better? Because that's the vibe I
It
get.
makes it tolerable.
It's
you
like a lot of people are just like, because they're used to it.
Yeah, because we don't have a complete game yet, you know. So
Oh,
that's the thing. Like I mean, honestly, everybody's been saying this for how many years now? Like, Star Citizen is not a sit down and play game, and it's still not. You know, like it's heading that direction, hopefully, but it's still not. You know.
I don't know. I've heard from Chris Roberts that there's
Oh God, no, God.
but that's so important, bro. Like, and then we
is,
get
I
stuff
know.
like This Is Star Citizen. I watched This Is Star Citizen, bro. This is a playable game, no? So that's what I'm saying. Like, and then after that, you
there's-
get nothing, and I'm like,
You're not gonna get any argument out of that from
I
me,
know.
man. Like the disconnect between like, oh, it's an alpha or it's a, you know, oh no, it's a live service project, you know, like like it is whatever they want it to be, whatever's most convenient at the time. So there's no argument there, but I don't know. Like I said, it just unfortunately this is where the game is. It is where it has been for the last 3+ years, and you know, like some of the stuff makes me want to log in and play, and some of it makes me go, I'll just keep waiting. So, you know, and that's where these event things are, right? Like the events are cool. I want to play them. If the servers are working okay, I will. If not, well, I'll keep waiting, you know?
what the
And
general
hopefully get
the
better.
problem with this for me is the general opinion of many content creators, and both of us watch or listen to a lot, is that this changes everything. And
What?
I'm like,
Who's saying that?
what do you mean? Everyone, like, and the reason for it is probably because they're trying to hype up people because they need people to play and watch in order for them to swim in this ocean. And
First time I've heard somebody saying that this changes everything.
well, not like, I'm not saying about like this specific ISE. Although if you look at ISE, the like to dislike ratio is very, very good, so to say, unlike the last one. And people get hyped up about these things, which I'm happy for them, I guess. But I don't know what to say. I don't think this is hype, because like that I mean, you've had this already. It's not like we're moving upwards with this.
But it was fun. A lot of people said, you know, like Xenothread is probably the most fun that they've had.
I said that as well.
in
It was the
Star
most fun
Citizen,
I've had in Star Citizen. 100%.
So I think it's okay to be hyped about doing that again when it was really fun. You know, like does it change everything? No. Does it mean that Star Citizen is now there and it's you know, it's now you can call it a playable game? No, absolutely not. But it was fun, so I think it's okay to be hyped for something that was fun.
We can let it go. I'll just say one more thing. Obviously, you can reply
Okay.
to that, but sure, I agree, it's fun, but I do think there's downside to it, because we are so, as a community as a whole, like community of players that are verbal somewhat, we are too easy to forget, because it's a huge fucking drought of 7 months now where nothing fucking happens. And if I'm being honest, 2 years that where nothing actually happened, and then they give you a fucking rinsed event, and you're like, it's okay. I mean, it's okay to be happy about it. No, it's not. To me, it's not. I think for as long as we're being like, okay, we get the new Xeno thread, it's something. What message does that send? It sends a message like, okay, thank you for giving us something, instead of, what the fuck are you giving me? Like, why are we even talking about this? Okay, use it to make it better, but where is that something that, you know, where's something, dude? 2 years, where's something? I'm sorry, the difference between me and you is because I've been only playing for 2 years and I haven't seen anything, I guess.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I like I said, I guess, like, yeah, you either go crazy or you step back and, you know, and just kind of like take a more of like a wait and see thing. Where is the something? Oh man, trust me, that's been something I've been asking for 2 years now, and, you know, like, hopefully we see that text soon that allows for something, because, you know, again, like, I mean, this is something a lot of different content creators have been talking about, like you can't keep rolling on nothing forever. So, but yeah,
maybe you can.
Maybe you can. I mean, the funding is still running in, but like, yeah, it is what it is. The other thing that they touched on was more brands, which you'd think would be kind of boring, but they came with like little tidbits of, like, I guess, I don't know, just like info. Like, for example, they did a health insurance brand, which kind of like gave a little bit of info, and like, it seems like maybe there's going to be similar to like ship insurance kind of a thing, where like you can pay more for more expensive medical insurance that gives you off. Who knows? I mean, the implication was that, like, there was one line there that said like minimal genetic divergence or whatever. So like, if your character dies, quote unquote, you know, like, you have, maybe it like doesn't take a full life or something like that, because, you know, you can only come back a certain amount of time. So it was like a bunch of just little like brands with like little stuff. They also talked about like taxes. There's like a tax bureau, and if you know, like, don't have the money or don't pay your taxes or whatever, you might have to do missions to work that off, or work your debt off if you haven't. And then the final one was aftermarket ship modification company, specifically for things like paints and stuff like that, which is interesting because, again, last week we were talking about, you know, skins and maybe I'm getting that confused. No, we did talk about skins.
Or rather, like,
yeah,
certain ships having
right, yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah. So this was like them basically kind of, it seems like, doubling down on what they've said before, where they said that you'll be able to basically take your ship to a shop like this. I can't remember what it's called, something Crow or something.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. There's some. It's like an old brand or whatever. It was seen. The logo was seen before and whatnot.
And you can like order like a custom paint job or whatever on it that you wouldn't be able to get straight from the factory floor. So yeah, like, kind of boring, but at the same time, like, just little bits of information in there, which I thought was fun. The thruster effects are gonna look really cool for low flyers, I think. That was the other thing they showed, was like vectored thrust and stuff like that. Because I bet you, like, when you get like people like Chrono or whoever who are like skimming right across the ground, I'm hoping you see like the like long like dust tail basically behind them. I think that'll look cool.
I don't personally care right now because, again, we don't know when this is happening, and when it happens, especially like it, I feel like this is one of those things that depends on like desync and server performance and whatnot. Also, like, right now, low flying, I mean, I don't know if you've seen Chrono, but like, he goes to Daymar and then he parks his ship and then he goes out with a gun and then he fires off his parts of his wings, and that's how you low fly. I mean,
oh my
the
God.
whole flying system right now is an absolute garbage.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there for sure.
So
I don't know.
I mean, they have to work on it. I'm sure it's like a different but I'm sure this is like a different team than the team that works on flight model or whatever. So cool,
Yeah.
but like when will this be actually interesting in game? God knows. Is it a good thing? Yeah. Like this one, there's literally no downside to this.
What, the thruster effects? No,
Yeah.
it's just pretty.
Yeah.
I think it'll just like if and when that comes in, it'll be cool. I just add a little bit more immersion because honestly, the little like dust effects that you get right now are lame. They don't look very good. But
yeah, and wear and tear doesn't feel good to me at all. But we know it's like in
super
testing,
accelerated mode.
Yeah, but even
Yeah.
there's this one
The,
bug that always fucking bugs me. Like if you land in certain areas, the texture of the landing pad becomes texture of your ship's floor. This is like 90% of times this happens. Oh, you had it, you just didn't pay attention, maybe.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I don't think I've noticed that.
Yeah. So let's say you land a freelancer in Bezdek and it's like a little bit dusty landing pad, and you abandon your cockpit and you look at the floor. It's the yellow line that goes on the it's like reflects whatever is down there, which makes no fucking sense. It's like some of these little things that I'm like, how the fuck does this even happen? But it's normal. It's just like it happens all the time. In many
I've
ships.
never noticed.
I don't think it happens in like ships that you're flying.
Okay, because I was gonna say like I don't have a freelancer right now, so like
Yeah, it's not in all the ships. It's not in all the ships.
Oh, okay.
Oh, strange.
The next thing they showed was wind and air movement affecting fire, which first I was like, that's kind of okay, whatever. They spent a lot of time on it, but then I started thinking about like way down the road, if a system like this was in, it would be pretty cool if you had like a hull breach in your ship and you actually saw like the smoke kind of like going towards where the hull breach was. But I mean, like you said, way down the road, so who knows?
Also, in my opinion, it's like way too much attention to the fire, but they've been working on fire for last year and a half, and I'm like, and then Jared is like, "Oh, fire! I missed you so much," and I'm like, "Are you trying to be funny? Are you actually trying to hype the fire or whatever?" And I'm like, really? You guys are working on fire for a year and a half now, and like, there's a point where I'm like, I don't know. It's fire.
Fire and smoke. I think. I don't know. We'll have to see, because honestly,
we'll have to see,
like
sure.
there was a clip from I don't know if it was the Vertical Slice. I don't think it was, but there was a scene from Squadron 42 where they were showing you wandering through the wrecked halls of a capital ship. It was a destroyer or something like that. And like the gravity was off, and there was like water spraying from pipes and like globules. It was like, and there was like smoke and fire and like strobes everywhere. And I was just like, the atmosphere there with everything like all damaged and stuff was awesome. And I would love to play
when
in an
did
environment.
They make this?
Oh, it was a long time ago. Like,
so they had that they had it already for then.
They didn't have I don't think they had any like actual procedural fire or anything like that. It just was like, because I'm pretty sure it was just basically for a demo, but it just looked cool, like in the wrecked halls of like of a capital ship with 0G, and I don't know, it was just like,
listen, I agree, and I think the atmosphere is so important, and especially in a space game, and we talked about this, fire on board ships in general is like the most difficult
terrifying
thing to deal with, especially the smoke and all that. But we're talking about a game that is paying way too much attention to detail anyways, and the development has been like dragged for so long, and then when you put one and one together, you get that there been, this fire is not close to finishing. It's probably like going to be like one team working 3-4 years on fire. It's like, I don't know, man. It's important, but I can't. I'm not a developer, but other games have fire as well. For fuck's sakes, like other games have fire as well, man. I don't know, like, yeah, 3 years, like, or whatever. I don't know. It beats me, because I was talking to someone who doesn't play the game today, and I tried to explain to them why it's okay for them to develop the game for so long, because they were like, how incompetent are you if you can't push it? I'm like, stop, you're wrong. Like the scale on which they do these things is just insane.
Well,
But-
and specifically the thing is, oh sorry, continue your thought.
Well, it's just that there is too much. And if the game comes out in 70 years, the developers who are working on this file are not going to see it in game. Like, fucking, I'm starting to hate Chris Roberts, man. Like, there's a good fucking reason why he got kicked out of every studio. Like, I think there needs to be a deadline. Like, this guy does not work with deadlines. It's not the thing in his mind.
You know what the primary reason is too? Like, people can talk about like how there's incompetence and stuff like that, but if you're trying to build things from the ground up so that they're systemic, it does take longer. Period.
Sure.
And that's basically been their approach. So that's why Fire is going to take longer. That's why the universe is going to take longer. Because what they're trying to do is basically, instead of using those canned, you know, like or specifically designed kind of situations, they're trying to design it so that basically they can get it to a point where they can kind of like hands off it basically and let it you know
the
let
problem
all
with
those systems kind of play together.
Well,
I mean, there's an obvious you know problem with that, and that is just how fucking long things take and how expensive it is.
You know what else
develop.
happens for this long time? Tech and world evolves.
Yeah.
And you're working on something for 10 years, and then
Yeah, it's called tech debt.
so there's a good reason why you need to push it sometimes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna be working on something for 10 years, and in 10 years, it's gonna be like what PS3 games now look. Sorry, but like that's the reality of. I mean, look at the games. Like, look at fucking.
Yeah, but
we had
here
D3.
we are in our armchairs, doing our dev when we're not the ones actually working on it. And neither of us work in the game.
I don't think this
development.
is armchair development at all. I think this is just like consumer reality.
The fact is that they have addressed tech debt and they know that it's a thing. So at this point, basically, it's either we let them do their job and hopefully they finish before that tech debt drives the project into the ground, or well, I actually don't know what the or is there, or we basically second guess all these smart people who are working there and say that we know better sitting out here in the project. Like, we can make opinions about this all we want, but ultimately at the end of the day, there's 600 presumably qualified people in this company working on it. So I don't know, it'll either fail or it won't, and we'll see. And maybe it is CR's
what does it? I have no doubt that they're very, very qualified. I think we've talked about this a lot before. I think CIG currently has creme de la creme of developers. I have no fucking doubts about this. Well, even if I'm wrong, I believe in that. That's the problem is, unfortunately, there's a reason why you have a producer on a movie set.
Yeah.
Because the movie director and the director of photography and the scenographer and all these artistic people are never satisfied with what they do. Never. Like, I'm a photographer. I know this. And I'm surrounded by people who are in arts because I studied it. And you're never, ever satisfied. If you study arts on a faculty, there's one department that everyone hates. No one wants to hang out with them, and that's the producer, because this is the person that studies how to limit someone's freedom in art. And the factual thing is, you need that to finish the product nowadays.
Here's the thing, though. They have those people.
Mm-hmm. And they have Chris Roberts above them.
Yeah. But at some point, basically, like the producers, if they feel like they're getting overridden constantly, they leave. I've seen it. Like, my buddy Ed is a producer. And there's been multiple times where they said, work on this project, get this project done, manage this team. And like, you can only basically override somebody so many times before they just say, why am I even here? And they leave, right? So until I start seeing the department heads basically saying, fuck this, I'm out, I'm gonna assume that they are doing their job to the best of their ability.
But do we
and,
have that structure? Like, is it open or
Yeah.
not?
Well, this is the thing. Wait. What do you mean?
Like, do we know
to see?
who is in charge of deadlines and all that? Can we see that? Do we know? I'm
Yeah,
not. I don't know.
that's-
This is an honest question. And do we know if
Well-
these people are quitting already or not? For
On the
years.
very high end, you have Todd Pappy. You have Aaron Roberts, who has a ton of experience doing a producer thing. And actually, to be honest, I will say, as much as the whole staggered development thing definitely did not age very well, I noticed personally the difference between when Aaron was working there and when he wasn't. And I think one of the primary reasons he's able to do that is because he's Chris's brother. So he's like fully willing to just tell that kind of stuff it. But I don't know. As far as their actual, like their lower end producers, I don't really know. I mean, you could probably go on Glassdoor or LinkedIn and check. But yeah, I mean, they do have people there who are producers. And I mean, one assumes
CIG
that they...
people come and go, like some
that
of
is
them
true,
we
yeah.
know, and we're like sometimes we're heartbroken because Sarah is not working for CIG anymore. Now I don't know if she was hired, to make one ship or a couple of ships, or if she just quits because some reasons. We don't know these things, but people come and go. It's not like everyone is there and are staying there forever. Like the guy, what's his name, SN or whatever, like the guy who is coming to Salty Mike's stream, he used to work for CIG, doesn't work for them anymore. There's like three different...
No.
Oh no, SN is not. It's
not
someone else.
SN. But yeah, no, I know that. Yeah. Like that's normal. That is normal. Like you have churn because people
of course it's not
start in a junior position and then get offered like a better position somewhere else.
It's perfectly normal. I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, do you know that producers are not leaving already?
Your head producers?
Is the brother?
So far, no.
It's like family business. What? He's gonna abandon it?
Well, you have like Eric Kyron Davis. You have, like I said, Todd Pappy, Tony Z. Like those are your top guys who have the titles of producers. Is basically what I'm saying. So, as for their lower, but basically, I guess the point I'm trying to say is that you do have people there whose titles are producers, and I don't know. Basically, they'll do their job or they won't. This is why I'm just
I think this is what their revolutionary thing is. They're going to do their job in a way that the job is not done in any other studio, so they can do it forever, which allows Chris Roberts freedom to create what no one else has created before. And it's not even a secret. Like that's why Roberts is doing this the way he's doing it and not under a wing of a big studio, right?
Not under a publisher.
Exactly. That's exactly why he's doing it.
Yeah, because it is a more aggressive. It's a risky project. What he wanted to do, especially in the climate where he started it, right? Like no publisher in their right mind would let somebody kind of take on a project like this. And so obviously there's going to be those things that are like taking a long time. But
armchair or not, I'm going to say this is why we have people working on Fire, probably several people for 3 years now. I'm sorry, but
I don't think it's been worked on for 3 years. We saw when they first started it.
The day one of the first ISCs that I watched was Fire spreading in the ship, and it was December 8th.
Yeah, that was the first time we saw it.
Is it over? Is it done? It's been 2 years now. So is it done? It's not. It's going to be like 3 years or so.
Okay. I don't know. I guess that's it. Like I don't really care. Work on Fire. Make it look really cool. It looks, if the idea is to build everything systemically, then, go for it. Build things systemically. And I will either be here or not when it's finished.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I like seeing that kind of stuff because, and I will say, it spawns a little bit of that imagine. I love the idea of potentially wandering down a hall, on damage control, and then noticing that the smoke and the fire is going a certain direction and going oh shit, I got a hull breach back there. you know, and having to kind of think about like what I'm gonna bring to you know, to fix that. And I fully admit, like, that's full on imagine, and who knows when that's actually going to be a thing. But it's cool if it happens. I hope it does. That would be neat, because I can't think of another game that I played that has given me that sort of like environmental immersion, that I can kind of like look for those environmental cues to like inform my gameplay.
Fire spreading in direction of the wind, like 6-7 years ago, Postal 2. And you can piss on the fire to extinguish it.
In Postal 2?
Yeah.
What is that? I
Or
don't
3.
even know what that game is.
Because it's forbidden in most of the countries. But basically it's a 7-day game where you're a guy and your wife sends you to do chores. And every day something crazy happens. it's the game is brutal and maybe racist and whatnot. Like it's bad, but they had that.
Okay, I've never seen that.
The game literally, you can like you can lure the cat with like cat food and then use the cat as a silencer on your gun.
No,
it's brutal. It's like super brutal. You can like set someone on fire and then you can like piss on them to like extinguish them and stuff like that. It's there's a reason why this game is not allowed in most of the countries.
Okay, so they did fire spreading. Okay, that's fine. But like, I've never seen it. So, and even if I had seen it, you know, like, all I'm trying to say is like those little things add up when it's like kind of building kind of that
alternate reality.
Like that. So, yeah, maybe.
Are we building a game or alternate reality? Because I want to play a game.
Me too, but I like it when those little details are in games that just brings you into it a little bit more. And I'm hoping that's what happens here. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe it'll be 6 years and we still won't have seen it. But in the meantime, that was on ISC, and I thought it was neat. Next, Retaliator changes. This is all you.
We're going to talk about this in our topic actually. So yeah, there's Retaliator changes. And you know what, man? I don't see the changes. Like I looked it up. It's not that big of a difference than what I have now in my Retaliator. Okay. Sure, they're like opening like, you know, future possibilities with it, or, you know, like setting up so that they can add and remove parts, whatever. You know what I mean? Like what they did with Gladius basically. And they are calling it getting it polished for the gold standard release.
Yeah.
And the question is, how the fuck can any ship be in gold standard? We don't have armor, and we don't have physical components, we don't have wiring, and we don't have what's the name? I always forget this. The flying thing. What we need for flight model, so that you can like bank and turn whatever pressure plates or whatever the fuck is called.
Oh, flight surfaces.
Flight services, yeah.
Yeah.
So how are we talking about gold standard? What is a gold standard even? Like from what I've figured out, it's the ship is done. Gladius is done. It's over. We don't even have UI. Like we don't even have UI like for each ship done, right? So it's just another of these things. But we're gonna talk about that later. So
yeah,
I'm not impressed by it.
Though.
That's what I wanted.
Well, my main thing is just like the reason I put this on you is because like I think I've been in a Retaliator twice total, maybe, and I didn't like, they showed some of the changes and I was like, I don't get it. Is that good or bad? I
fly Tali, and I was looking forward to interchangeable components. That did not happen, and they just stopped talking about that. If I'm not wrong, it was supposed to be in game already, but it was pushed or whatever.
Ship modularity, it was either supposed to be in 3.13 or 3.14.
I think it was supposed to be in 3.13. And I think this was one of those silently pushed.
No, it wasn't silent. It was in the roadmap update.
No, but no one really like touched on it or whatever. Like it was not verbally addressed by CAG or like anyone who is doing the.
Yeah, I can't remember where it is on the.
And then again, like they do that for Tali as a test bed, so God knows how horrible that will be. And then they have to polish it, and then eventually I really want to see it in Caterpillar, where I also want to see the other, like the snub ship or whatever, the bridge thing,
detachable.
Yeah. But like this things that God knows, when.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about. But yeah. So, good. They're working on it.
I like the idea of wider hallways, but what I'm curious to see is if it actually changes anything on the exterior. Like if you're where are you widening the hallways, basically? Like what's
well the only so I know the ship inside and out, right? The hallways are not that bad. I mean, it's a military ship. It's a submarine.
Right, no.
It gives you that crampy feeling, which is good.
Yeah.
I think that's what it should be. 6 people sleeping in one room, next with a nice roof window. They have turret and weapon racks straight out of their beds. Captain has his quarters. Everything is very, very militaristic, but you can, like, how do you call that? Like, 2 people can go both ways, right?
Well, they said specifically it's because the AI was having issues navigating in like a corridor.
Maybe they need to work on their AI. So the problem is, I don't think they're going to widen the ship. I think visually from the outside, that ship looks perfect. I wouldn't change anything on it. Inside, though, there's enough space, so you have like basic Retaliator bomber has 2 interchangeable compartments where size 9 torpedoes are stored, and these, there's enough space like around them, basically. Like there's quite a lot of space. However, these compartments should be changed for cargo storage compartment if you want to, or living quarters. And are you gonna shrink that? Because it's not that big for these. It's just not. Like, so if you shrink it from, like, if you shrink those inner spaces, it's gonna be like a fucking corridor for like, it's gonna be like 1 row of SCU or 2, and that's it. Or like,
that's what I want to see. Like that's what I like I said, I'm not super familiar with the ship because I don't fly it really ever, but I always have said that I would like to have a modified Retaliator for like my daily driver or like commuter, basically in game, right? Just because I think they look sweet. And but anyways, so they when they talked about like widening quarters and stuff, I was like, where? Like, how are they gonna do that? So that's what I'm curious about. Even though I'm not super familiar with the ship, I just don't know where they're gonna get that space. But well,
maybe the scent, maybe they're gonna like extend. No, I don't know. No,
I don't know.
And then again, if they're changing the hull of this ship, we go back to, they're gonna redo every fucking ship like 3 more times. You know what I mean? Like,
probably, actually. I don't know.
Even the hull of
more
it,
times,
it's like, it's crazy. That's brutal. And we're talking about a ship that is supposedly almost gold standard, whatever the fuck gold standard.
Well, yeah, we'll get there. Yeah. Next thing, they showed us some different HUDs for different brands, which I think is neat.
Yep,
I liked where they were going with the Drake ones. I like the idea of it kind of switching from manufacturer to manufacturer, just like help the ships feel.
It would be nice if you could tweak this on your own. Like, even now, you can change lights on your dashboard in most of the newer cars. I would think you can change it more to your liking in a ship. I think it matters a lot. I don't like having orange all the time.
I want to be able to, this is totally unrelated, but I want to be able to change computer voices because I really do not like the Crusader ship voice. But I guess
Crusader, I mean, I don't like it, but I can live with it. But Argo and Grey Cat, like, I enter this ship. If I know I'm going to fly one of these ships, I turn off the ship voices.
Oh, you can do that?
Yep.
I know you can turn down their chatty levels, but I didn't know you could like turn them off entirely.
Volume to 0.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, okay. In that case,
it's disgusting. And I don't know why Grey Cat has the same voice almost as Argo. It's like, whatever.
I don't know. that's the kind of stuff, like when you talk about like customizing HUDs, I hope that at some point like HUDs are customizable, like ship systems in general, like would be customizable. And I'm under no illusions that's happening anytime soon, if ever. But yeah.
It's
In
so
theory,
important to
it should
make your
be
ship home, you know? Interior
Yeah.
coloring as well, interior lights. Like maybe.
That's something I don't think they've ever. No, I guess they did with the 300. You could kind of customize bits of the
Yeah.
interior. I never really considered
Make
that,
it
like
a
doing interior paint or.
microtransaction with like wallpapers or whatever the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
I don't mind that being like paid outside the game.
I don't either, to be honest. That sort of stuff, it's fine.
Doesn't change,
You know,
like doesn't give you an upper hand or anything. And then again, like the whole game, if you're talking about pay to win, is going to be pay to win because you can buy alpha UEC. So whatever. To me, that's like big whatever. We just gotta accept it. That's it.
that there's going to be monetization, and they're going to try to that there's going to be a degree of pay.
Well,
to
yeah,
win if
we talked about this before, where you said that the daily limit is going to be important.
Yeah,
but
I mean, old info. But
yeah, like if you can buy alpha UEC for real money, then I don't care. You can sell ships as well. It's the same shit, whatever. To me, that's like just much. It's just like, why are you even saying these things? Like, you either sell nothing that affects the gameplay, or you can sell everything. Like if you're selling in-game currency, you can sell everything. So, like quality of life change, that I can buy a ship instead of buying alpha UEC 7 times. Sell the ship, whatever.
Yeah, but there's more flexibility if it's currency, because then you can buy components or whatever else you want as well.
Sell everything. I don't care.
Yeah. They did that at one point. They moved away from it. They did that back with the I think it was the Voyager Direct store. You could like pay real money for components and weapons. That was like way back in the Arena Commander days.
Did they refund this or turn it into store credit or whatever?
Yeah, basically you got it all back as store credit. I can't remember if there was an option to have it refunded. I'm not sure, but yeah, there was a big shift over.
Fair and clarify, I don't want anything purchased for real money except for because they need to monetize somehow. And I'm okay with subscription. I'd rather have it than not have it. I know it sounds weird, but from personal experiences, the games that don't have subscription, people just don't give a shit. And YOLO, those $10 a month make them care more about the game and whatever they're doing in the game. It also filters people who are like just YOLOing around. And then
I'm not really sure. Like this was all from back, like when they with the subscription or no subscription thing was like that was like from way back in the day, like 2012 and stuff, right? Where I feel like there was this weird stigma with MMOs about subscriptions, and you had people who were just like adamantly opposed to them, and that was kind of CR basically came in and said, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do an MMO, but it's going to be buy to play, and and we're not going to have a subscription. And I think ultimately at that point he was probably just trying to get Kickstarter dollars, and then everybody started asking like, well, how are you going to fund the game then? And they were like, I guess we'll just, like we'll sell money, and then that way we'll because again, like at the time too, 2012 MMOs and stuff like that, there's that stigma around gold farmers and stuff like that too, right? So the like throwing out you can buy currency as a quick fix and that'll help cut down on gold farmers was like, oh, most people who played MMOs were like, oh, thumbs up, those gold farmers ruining the game and blah blah blah.
You still have them though, that's the problem.
Yeah. But I mean, at the time, I feel like most of that info was just kind of more product of the time at that particular point, like where MMOs were.
Yeah. So we don't really know what is going to be.
We don't really know.
To clear my name, like I don't want any of that. I want the ships and money to be only earnable in game and no other way. Not even like a lot of people are okay with selling concepts, and I hope that's not going to be a thing. But I am well aware that most likely they're going to sell everything, because if they and that's what I'm saying. Like if they're saying selling money, then just sell everything. I don't care, and it's fine. If that's not gonna make if that's gonna make me not play the game, then sure. But like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, they need to make money. It's whoever thinks they're making this because not because of money is fucking nuts.
I don't know. This is a whole other topic. But like, I don't know if I really even buy the whole pay to win thing. Like, this is,
we don't know, because
like
we don't know what the game is. We talked about this, right? Like, we don't know. TIG doesn't know what the game is going to be. We don't know what the game is. We don't even know if it's an MMO or not,
Totally.
right?
Yeah. But this is what I'm thinking. Like projecting a little bit further into it. If okay, let's say everything was for sale, and you know, and people could basically just buy money and buy ships, buy components, buy everything like that. Like, does that, like, at a certain point in the game, does that make it pay to win? It's I don't even know, you know, because like, it's not like
it diminishes the value of everything when you know that you can't afford 890 jump. It will take you a year to get it, and some motherfuckers just goes and buy 3. That's okay for them, and it just diminishes, like, it kills your will to get it regardless of they do not affect your personal gameplay. We have this in other MMOs, and some of these MMOs died away because of that. I mean, it definitely, because
like,
there's
that was I was just gonna say, like, obviously that was a thing in a lot of like the
free to play.
What do they call it? JRPGs, like free RPGs and stuff like that. Yeah, like very much like that, like pay to progress kind of a thing. And their structure was always built in such a way that it was like, yeah, you could grind it, but it was going to take you 4 million years.
The difference is Asian market works with this fine, because they have a different mindset than kind of like rest of the world. It's the same with mobile games. Like, they play a lot of mobile games while they commute because they don't have time. They're like, their working ethics are different than ours.
Yeah.
Like, to put it like this, I don't want to offend anyone or anything, but like, put it the simplest, like, they really they're not valuing free time too much. As in, like, they work longer hours than we do. And it's like their culture, but it's almost like a choice, basically. It's just like that, it just works like that. So they use all of the commute is free time, kind of. Like, for us, I want that to be part of my working schedule, because fucking I waste an hour or two of my life, right?
But basically what I'm saying is that, like, when you like if things are set up in that way where, like, you can grind it, but it'll take you, like you said, like a year for an 890 jump or something like that, or you can buy it, like yeah, like that has personally driven me away from games before, because
yeah, but I mean, you can make it so that you can get it easier, right? Less amount of time, but then that diminishes the value of something in game as well. Like, if everyone flies 890, what the fuck cares about 890, right?
Yeah, and this is where it comes down to, like, what is the game actually like? Because I guess that's kind of where I was trying to go with it, was like, you know, so okay, sure, so yeah, you bought a I don't know, saber or something and paid for all the top end components, and this guy next to you, you know, grinded that out. But ultimately, if the goal is not necessarily to get those ships and get them kitted out, if the goal is to fly the ships and do the gameplay, I don't know. I you know, like, does that diminish the gameplay? Is that pay to win now because a guy basically
to me it does. I don't feel like playing something like that, honestly, but
yeah,
but I might have to. I mean,
I don't know.
There are people who just want that, for example. I mean, it's very, very personal, I think.
Yeah. And I think ultimately it does come down to, like, how good is the gameplay actually? You know what I mean? Like if the gameplay is good enough that and the game is good enough that you can kind of overlook that, does it really affect things if people are paying? I don't know.
In general, MMO needs to be grindy, like healthy grindy. Otherwise, it's dead. You cannot have instant gratification in MMO. Simple as that.
Yeah, I don't know. The only real experience I have with this is from like a WoW perspective. I remember back in the day, like people who were like big into high-end PvP but didn't want to spend all the time grinding a character up and gearing a PvP would just like buy an account or buy like a character on the black market or something like that.
So there's a
PvP
difference,
with.
right? Like that person can buy regularly, they can buy a boost, right? And you can get your character.
Now,
well, for
but
a
it
long
wasn't the
time
case.
now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but that means nothing. Like you get the fucking useless gear, and you don't know how to play that character, right? And well, what? Like I don't know. Like let's see how it goes. But like in Star Citizen, every ship is being flown the same fucking way. It's not it's not the skill really. But the thing is, yeah, they could like, and then they have to work for the. And I know a lot of people, including myself, boosting a character, and then after a month, giving up on that character and going back to my own character because I just either it takes so long to gear it up again, and I have to go through that tedious process again. It is boring. Or I had a situation where I just couldn't, like, it looks so easy when someone plays Druid in the arena and they're so good, and then I take the Druid and I'm like, fuck, man, I'm going back to my Priest because I'm just not, made for that. Like, and I don't know. I haven't played the Druid for 5 years to know, like, exactly how to, it does not come naturally.
There's obviously that shift, right? And, like,
you could buy illegally a character that is already a gladiator, has the gear, is the class that but that comes with shitloads of fear of being, because it's not allowed and people are constantly being banned for this. There's like that moron that sold a character with there was one by mistake that dropped. It was in the files but it was not supposed to be. It's a legendary in vanilla. It was a legendary neck or something like that. It's not supposed to drop, and one person has it. It was a rogue or something, and the motherfucker stopped playing, and he sold this for like $10,000 or something. And they figured out and banned the account like immediately. You know what I mean? Like how do you steal a purple Lamborghini? It's stupid, right? But there's that fear of like doing something that is not allowed. Like for example, I wish, if they're not working with them, like the black market ships, gray market ships that we can buy now, I wish they put more pressure on these guys. Like there will always be gray market, but if CIG says you are not allowed to fucking do this, and if we catch you, you lose your account permanently, gone. They don't.
Which is the case when it comes to buy, like they've said that for like black market accounts. So like if you sell an account with a javelin on it, which is the only way, as far as I understand, or at least it used to be, the only way to buy a javelin outside of the F5 wars was to basically illegally buy an account with a javelin on it. They have flat out said that is something that is like bannable. But like the gray market gifting thing, yeah, you're right. They haven't really seemed to crack down on it.
But to me, it's a huge difference if you allow it or you don't allow it and it still happens. I find it much healthier if you don't allow it, and then people who do it are kind of in fear of doing something wrong.
Yeah,
it makes less people do it. And punish it, stick to it. When you figure it out, you can't always, but
sorry, that was totally
make an example. Yeah. All right.
We should go because I can see like I'm starting to sweat and you're starting to sweat.
I'm having another problem. I'm very lightheaded for the last hour, so, but it is fine.
Okay, well, let's skim through SCL then. SCL this week was a like a game design one, which I think is fun. Admittedly, it's the same situation that we were talking about earlier, where it's like most of the stuff is like question marks as to when when it gets in. But we were talking about this a little bit before we went live, and that was that it is, even though like most of this stuff we're probably not going to see for however long, it's still kind of neat just to get an idea about like the direction they're going with some of the gameplay.
It's like figuring out what their idea is, and I liked it.
Yeah.
I actually liked it. I disagree with some things, but it's nice to see which direction they're thinking of going. Really good.
Yeah. I am warming up to the idea of long distance probing. That's one of the things they talked about in sorry, in SCL there. Like, I didn't like it at first because I thought that it was going to replace long distance scanning, and I wasn't really in favor of that. But now it seems like they're like, it's going to work in conjunction with scanning, and we got a little bit more details about like kind of the direction they're going with that. I still have a problem with the fact that these probes can quantum, so they have a quantum drive on them, but snubcraft don't. But I don't know. Chegg wrote a note there, which like there is some hand wavium they could do to do that. Like for example, they can make a quantum drive that small when it's a probe, but when you talk about like sticking a human in it, it requires you know, bigger or more energy or something like that. So it's fine. But yeah, so basically. Yeah, so basically you can fire out these quantum capable probes, kind of triangulate kind of signals and stuff like that. They kind of emphasize that they still want the interpretation of that signal to be something that is like skill and knowledge, I guess more knowledge based than skill based, you know, to try to basically get a rough idea about what it is. And then you get in closer and you get kind of your more detailed scans. But at potentially increased risk the closer you get to something, especially if it's a ship, because, you know, what may show up as, you know, one ship could end up being 6.
Yeah. Depending on their signature, right? That they talk about a lot.
Exactly, until you get close enough. But yeah.
This is something Eve does so well for so many years, and it feels like they are in peace taking this and making it a little bit different. And for those who didn't play EVE Online, or you might have even played EVE for years and never used like probe scanning, but basically you need to have probes. You need to not forget them in the system where you probed. You gotta call them back, or someone else can just scoop them if they find them because they're physicalized. Basically, you create a pattern like of how you want the system to be covered by your probes, and you send them out. And they cover a certain area of the system and read all the signatures there. Then you can turn towards whatever you've scanned because you have a probe there, and then you can long distance scan with your ship scanner and see what comes back.
Which sounds
great design that works really well.
Sounds pretty close to what they described here, to be honest. Yeah, because you send your probes out. They did say, they specified, by the way, that it's only within system, but it sounds like even just with the scale involved, it's not going to be like you can blanket a system and probes and see everything. It's definitely going to be something where it's, you know, you have to be a little bit more focused with it. And then same
it depends on the size of it, because not every system is the same size.
Yeah, I still don't think, because like we're dealing with like quadrillions of cubic kilometers in Star Citizen solar systems, even in the small systems. So like I still think it's going to be a lot more focused in SC. Like I think you're
you cannot cover the whole system, but it's kind of cool because let's say you send like 8 probes and they create the formation, and then you have little circles around them that you expand or, you know, narrow down, and then how far the probes are, and then that, like, obviously you can like spread it a lot, right? Huge area, but then they cannot like really detect some smaller signals or whatever. So you have to know how condensed it needs to be in order to scan certain, let's say a black hole of certain type or something like that.
And it did sound like you had to kind of like coordinate your probes in SC as well, like to triangulate kind of, you know, your sensor returns kind of between there. So
it's a really cool
honestly,
mini
it sounds like a lot of fun. And Dan Truffin at the end said that this was like the thing that he thinks he, you know, is looking forward to the most. And I'm with him, man. I've been saying it for years. Like I think good scanning gameplay, you know, could add so much to to Star Citizen.
I think scanning and probing should make a difference between good and bad player.
Yeah, I think so too. And it could be like, this could be for like,
Or
I
anything.
mean, they even pointed it out. Yeah, like it could be for mining, it could be for combat, it could be, you know, like it's basically how you get that intel, and that's important. Yeah. So, anyways, so they did like a bunch of different game design stuff. They talked about like how loot generation is going to work with their different tags, which it sounded pretty normal to me. I mean, as far as games go, they just basically said that they wanted loot to make sense. So, like, if you're in a military warehouse, the loot that you're getting out of the boxes is going to be like, you know, rifles and ammo and stuff like that. Whereas, like, when you're in, I think they said toilets, so like the bathroom, you can expect like toiletries and stuff like that. Which I don't know. That sounds pretty normal
It's
to
just
me.
logical. And there was a lot of frozen hearts or whatever. I don't know for what reason they're obsessed with it, but it's just those things where I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, why not take it from other games that like every game is using the fucking loot system? Why do you have to like
it sounded like I don't know. Like, it sounded like that's basically what they did. Like, they just basically had tags put on things. That sounded like pretty normal. I mean, obviously,
but they always have to like, you know, go deep into like how they're working on this and making it. Not everything needs to be made new. Like, well, we're gonna go back to my negative self, but like, you're reinventing a loot system. Are you fucking serious, dude? Do you really need that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it doesn't seem like it was. It seemed pretty normal to me.
Yeah,
like
that's the problem. You're reinventing loot system to be just like in any other game.
Yeah. Well, do you remember back when they had what's his face come on and like was all super excited to show us the inventory system or whatever, and I was like, this is an inventory system. Like, this is just a normal inventory system. Like, okay. I mean, I guess you worked on it, so you're proud of it, but like, that just looks like an inventory to me. Moved on a little bit. They did player-based refining. Like, they talked about like what it'll be like to do either the refining process on an Orion, or one assumes the refinery ship that they've talked about, which I liked. It's more involved than station refining, which is basically you show up and pick a thing and then come back later. They said it's going to be more involved, as in you'll have, like, I guess they called it a refinery, like a reactor, and you set it up, you know, to work better for, I don't know, whatever you think you're going to be mining, minerals or metals, etc. And it's more involved in that you kind of have to like choose, you know, like you might have to, if you get a mix of a particular metal in there, you might have to choose which one you're going to prioritize, because the refining process could, like, you know, could reduce the yield or even destroy the other mineral, which sounds fun. I always thought that the refinery gameplay in that Orion was like potentially the seat I wanted to sit in, because I'm a nerd.
Negative Nancy here. I'm afraid that when we actually get full player base one day, because people who are now following the project are almost like a cult. I don't know, like we're very extreme in a way, and like you would want to do this because it's amongst the other things, like potentially new gameplay and something new to try and, you know, whatnot. But in reality, I'm afraid that this will be one of those deeply developed professions that you will not have enough people to play, which might make a whole chain of other professions kind of tanking, like mining.
It could, but honestly, like things like this are not even necessarily unique, but like they definitely appeal to a specific type of player. Like Dual Universe was kind of the same. Like there was really, really complex versions of their crafting system and automation and stuff like that like definitely wasn't for everybody, but there was people who were interested in it and liked to do it. A similar thing in like a couple of the different Minecraft mods I played. Like my buddy Steve loved to do factory automation systems and stuff, and it was so complex, the stuff you could do in some of these in some of these mods. And it wasn't for me. Like, I didn't really like it, but he did. And the stuff he was able to do because that complexity was there was pretty cool. And conversely, there was those kind of like more complex technical aspects of, you know, various forms of the tech tree that I really enjoyed. And yeah, they may sound overcomplicated and boring, but you know, like to me, they were fun. And I'm hoping that's basically what these sorts of professions end up kind of being like. They're complex enough for the people who want to do it, and for the people who don't, you take it to a station, you dump your minerals, you know, and come back later. Next thing they touched on.
Let's wait and see.
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, it's with all this future gameplay, it's like obviously it's just kind of
the next one. I'm strongly against the refueling. We talked about this already, and I said like to me this is I'm gonna be like straight up rude. This is fucking moronic. Like to me this is disgustingly wrong. Personal opinion, because refueling should be a gameplay loop. 100%. I agree with that. And it can't have like some really neat mini games where you're like scooping fuel, or how you're gonna get the fuel. Like, are you going to buy it? You're gonna buy something cheaper and then refine it to something more expensive. You're gonna get it from the cloud. You're gonna get like whatever the fuck, you know. Like, you can have all these gameplay mechanics for a mini game that you are yourself working on to get the final product that you can then sell to another player.
Yeah.
So this can be as complex as you want. I don't give a shit, because there's going to be people who want to do that.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to selling the fuel to another player, and you having to play basically 2 mini games, and you can screw up from both sides by either being the one who is being fueled or the one who is fueling, and then potentially your ships can explode. What?
No,
it's fucking refueling. Like, it's
this one. I agree with you when they first rolled that out. Like, just getting gas sounded like way too much work. But in this case, I thought this one kind of rolled back on that a bit, honestly, because they said basically rolling up to the refueler is going to be like docking in a constellation. So you basically get it in position and then it auto docks.
No, so but they said you can screw it up.
Yeah,
and
because
both
they said
people can.
They said that you can do it manually if you want to, but they said that that's a little crazy. So I don't know. Like I hear, but like the whole, like, I will say that when they talked about like how the person who's in there can like try to pump fuel faster into your, I'll agree with you there. That's too much. Like we're really just trying to get gas here, right? So, you know.
This is a way for one person to make money after their hard work of getting the fuel and then bringing it to the location or other ship or whatever the fuck, or like advertising for it or whatever. That's in my opinion, that's enough. Now fueling the airship is just selling the final product. The ad where you can play a little bit with the price, so the person who is being refueled has to like choose to either go to the station or whatever, call a friend or whatever the fuck, or just pay you for your services. I don't see a need for, actually I think the need, like the potential complexity when you're just selling and buying the fuel is not unnecessary but detrimental for this profession.
Yeah.
And I know there's going to be people who are going to be like, no, I want this complexity and whatnot. Yeah, sure you do. Let's see when the game comes out. And no one wants to buy fuel from you because potentially you can screw up and fucking explode their ship or whatever. I don't want to deal with it. Fuck that shit.
If it is just as simple as just pushing auto dock, I don't really think there's
I want there to be something like, hey,
both ships go to 0, you get in position, both ships go to 0, and you know,
you request,
and then
they
hands
allow
off and push auto dock. Yeah. Like, because that's like, if again, like that's what I got from it when they said that, oh, they didn't think they'd be able to do it initially because they didn't have docking tech, but now the docking's working. They said it was basically going to use the same system, and I was like, okay, well, that's good. Imagine
healing a person, healing your tank in World of Warcraft, and then whenever you heal, you have a a skill
a
check,
percent chance to
and
do
if you
do
miss the
damage.
skill check, you deal damage
Yeah.
to them instead. Like,
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying, and ultimately, you're right. If it ends up being like rocket science just to get docked to get gas, you're right. But if, like I said, if it's as simple as just like, people know you just basically go to zero, the fuel tanker shows up, you both get to zero, push auto dock, and there you go, you're refueled. I think that's fine.
yeah, they were very proud about the fact that both sides can screw up. You can see the glitter in their eyes, like, haha.
This time when they were talking about that, though, they weren't talking about the refueling process. They were talking about the refining process.
No, I'm talking about, no, they did about refueling as well.
I just watched it this morning. I made these notes.
So
they were talking about the star. They were talking about the Starfarer, and they were talking about how they were talking about when they said there's a chance for something to go boom or whatever. They were talking about with refining.
No, sure, but like refueling as well. How can there be two sides for refining? Like, they literally said that either side can make a mistake, and that can be a problem. I don't know if they said boom or whatever the fuck, but like whatever the complication can happen. And I'm like,
yeah, I know. Well, I hope that they don't follow through with that then, because yeah, like you said, I mean, if you want people to utilize player-based refueling, if the risk is too extreme just to get gas, like you said, nobody's gonna do it.
You know what else I'm afraid of? Like, it almost feels like they're making Pyro to be a refueling gameplay. Almost like that's the gameplay of Pyro. Getting fuel. I don't know.
Yeah, they did say that refueling wasn't essential, but they did say that fuel was going to be very expensive.
And they were like, you don't want to go to Pyro on your own. And then they started talking about I almost got the idea of wait, do I need another person with a refueling ship so that we can go together so that I can do something there because I don't have fuel? And I'm sorry, but I don't think Carrack should not be able to go there and back, or long range ship, Aquila, exploration ships and whatnot. What the fuck, man?
Oh, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
I mean, but so far with, especially if you go with a slower, more efficient drive, I would be shocked if you couldn't cross the entire Pyro system and back on it with a Carrack. That thing has so much quantum fuel.
Yeah, that's what it's made for.
Yeah, exactly.
How am I going to go into the unknown where obviously there's no refueling ship if I can't fucking go around Pyro?
But that also isn't, in their defense, that isn't necessarily what they said. But if you were in a short range fighter, absolutely you'd have to be potentially making contingencies for refueling if you're going over to Pyro.
Fighter, you should be on board a carrier if you're going to a place like that.
Yeah. Ideally, yeah.
Maybe they're just gonna ramp it up to test things, which you'll feel super, I don't know, awkward.
I don't know, man. Will we even have it in game by the time Pyro's in? Who knows? That's not. They've flat out said that's not coming until server meshing, and we still have no idea when that's coming. So.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Okay, and this one kind of feeds into our topic, so this will be the last one from ISC, and then I guess it'll go into the gold standard conversation. They asked a question about where the ship resource system is, and the ship resource system, for those who don't know, is basically how it's how things like power and ammunition and fuel are delivered throughout your ship and managed in your ship. And basically, they said the reason you haven't heard anything about it in a while is because their engineer who went in there had to basically gut and redo that entire system of code, and it took literally twice as long as they expected it to. So they said it's partially in game now, but there's still a while to go on it, and they're hoping to divert more engineers to it. And that goes into our topic, which is, how do you have gold standard ships in this game right now when we do not have things like the ship resource system involved? You know, like how is the
So many things.
Gladius gold standard when we don't have the power conduits that deliver power from the power plant to the engines to all the other systems, when you don't have, you know, room for where the ballistic ammunition is stored in the magazines and stuff like that, because that's part of the ship resource system, etc. So we kind of already kind of touched on this a little bit when we touched on the Retaliator and the Retaliator changes. Like, is it possible? And this is going to be a situation where I don't know. Like, we're
Well,
probably just going to both be a little salty on it because
well,
I don't think it is possible.
we don't know if it's possible or not because I think they never like again problem with the communication is what actually is gold standard. They keep using
Yeah,
this phrase and it's not what I think it is, obviously, because in my mind, from what I picked up from CAG, but they maybe never said that directly, is that the gold standard ship is a ship that is done being worked on and is ready. Like if the game came out today, Gladius is ready. Gladius is
yeah.
like game ready.
But we don't have physicalized damage, so
We don't have so many things that every ship needs, right?
you know, like
So how can there even like what is gold standard? How can that thing even
guess-
exist?
though I will say that the gold standard Gladius does have all the components in it physicalized. Oh wait,
Sure.
except for no, we're still missing some components like avionics, for example. I don't think avionics systems or sensors.
Dude, there's
I don't
no
think so.
armor on that ship.
Yeah,
Like physicalized damage does not exist. I'm sure that they need to like, you know, model it somehow. I don't think it's gonna be
Yeah,
like
well, I
super
mean,
random or
unless-
whatever.
unless they can do that as like a normal map kind of a thing. So just
I don't know.
basically like a skin on top. You know, it's something that doesn't really require further changes to the actual like structure of a ship or the coding behind it or something like that. So what I basically have assumed is that gold standard means it's good enough for Squadron 42.
But what difference does it
Um,
make though? In Squadron 42 again, unless we talked about this, unless you're not flying ships and everything is on rails.
Or they're planning on releasing Squadron 42 without physicalized damage, which is kind of what I'm thinking is probably going to happen.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That would be like releasing an unfinished product, literally. Like that's one of the highlights, no?
Is it? I don't know.
Is it not?
I don't
Like-
think that they ever basically said fully physicalized damage for Squadron 42. Now that I
I
think
don't
about
know
it.
anything about Squadron 42 because I don't give a shit. But
Like I still think
that's
it's going to
something they
basically
talk
be.
about, right? That the bullet can fly through and whatnot. Like some of these things are the highlights of their development and whatnot.
Yeah. But where is physicalized damage? Like it's not even on the. If I'm not mistaken, it's not even on the progress tracker. You know, so. Hold on, let me check real quick.
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying a lot of people would be very, very disappointed with the game if it did not have physicalized damage.
We have physical damage and breakability, but I don't think that that's what that is.
Is it not?
But here, okay, so I will say,
Sounds like it.
for Squadron 42, well, no, because what it says is making use of the physics engine to create a system that looks and behaves realistically when large objects such as ships are damaged by weaponry or colliding with other ships, locations, and planets. And that actually finished. That is finished this June. But I don't think that that's the actual system that like simulates a projectile that goes through the ship and basically converts the current hit point based system to one where, you know, like you're more likely to disable a ship than you are to destroy it. And this is where I need a tinfoil hat, because my tinfoil hat theory here is that it would be much more cinematic to play Squadron 42 without physicalized damage. Because when you're not playing with physicalized damage, you get the pretty explosions every time you blow somebody up, every time you kill somebody. You don't necessarily get that with physicalized damage. In fact, it's more likely that you don't get that.
You know what would be
Which-
cool if they told us?
That's what I'd like. Honestly, like, man, I should be.
Man.
It's one of the things I should be asking on Spectrum. Like, where's physicalized damage? It's not on the progress tracker.
Well, you can ask. This is something we skipped, I think, on purpose, but it's again like Jared made a joke about people like not asking proper questions
yeah.
when every time they on purpose choose questions that they answered 10 times already and skip questions that are actually good questions and on topic, and then they mention questions that are not on topic just to prove the point, and it's just fucking disgusting. I don't know.
I didn't really like that from Jared this time. I will say it. It felt a little bit.
That's such a bad poke. It's not a joke. It's just like jabbing people.
No, it didn't. And that's the thing. Like, he tried to kind of make it like, oh, shout out to this guy. And it was like, Jared, that just didn't come across very well. Like that. Yeah. Anyways. But yeah, like I mean, so if we don't have that physicalized damage, is gold standard even possible? I don't know.
If
I guess
gold standard is what we think it is, then no.
if
But
gold standard is what it is, yeah.
Maybe gold standard for them is like we did everything we can up to this stage of the development, and we cannot do anything else right now on this ship. So for now it's done, but once we get like more stuff, more tech, then we go back to it. But this is why they should tell us that, because it definitely doesn't feel like that's what it is from what they're saying. But it could be. I mean, it definitely could be.
I'm kind of like, I'm struggling to remember, but I feel like they told us at some point in a video, like what their definition of gold standard was.
I don't know.
But I don't remember for sure. I could be remembering that wrong. I just looked it up on the progress tracker to see if there's any info about any info on like what their definition of gold standard is, and it isn't. It just says implementing, polishing, and optimizing all features required to bring the Aegis Retaliator up to gold standard.
Yeah, it doesn't say what the gold standard is.
No. So, yeah. Like, yeah, like we don't even have like functioning operator. Is that just technically? Is the operator modes? Is that just technically something that just plugs into a ship afterwards? I suppose that's the case.
That's a software thing on the ship, right? Like you don't really.
Like it's more of a
physically
feature.
Do anything. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's really strange. It's really strange. If you guys have an idea, write in the comments if you know the exact definition of what the gold standard is to CAG or any other project. I don't know, so we can compare. Or if you think about what it is, like I don't know, like
if you know, if I'm right too, if I was right about them talking about it at one point in a video, if you could link that for me, that'd be great, because I feel like they mentioned it at some point, but I don't remember.
Can you maybe check in Darian's notes?
I could. I don't know if he'd have it in there. Let's see.
Man, I have to apologize to everyone. I am not myself. I'm super lightheaded and dizzy, kind of. So I'm not as energetic as I usually am, even when I'm pissed off. And yeah, man, I'm sorry.
All right. Well, let's push it off. Let's push through then. Gold standard. We basically don't know what that means, because from where we're standing, I don't understand how you would have something to gold standard when we don't have all the systems and features in.
I agree.
So help us out with this one if you can in the comments, and we'll move on here so that we can get through this before Chegg dies.
Yeah.
One last episode, Chegg. We could do it.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm here. I'm just like super slow. I don't know. I really think it's fucking temperature. And
it's probably the heat.
gross.
Yeah.
Although that's not gonna get any better when I'm done with this.
Yeah, because you've been pumping all your AC exhaust into your
I've been doing that for days now. Like, there's no other way. Like, this is the only room where you can actually like breathe.
Just go pass out right in front of the in front of the
it's so loud,
air conditioner.
Yeah.
Next one,
Imagination Station.
Yeah.
Preface again, as always, this is where we imagine. We don't know, like the way we see possible things happening and whatnot. And we start with the this originally I wanted to make this a topic, but then we figured out that it's really connected to what we had for Imagine, which is ship locked content. And this is kind of like there's some ships that I would really like to fly around, but I don't want to fly them for what their original purpose is. And I will take two ships for an example. I don't like mining, it's not my jam, but I really like both Argo Mole and the Prospector. Like Prospector I like completely, as I like the interior. I kind of dig the looks. I like the how much we can see through the glass and like the cockpit, and I'd like to have it as something else. And the first thing that crossed my mind was it kind of looks like those deep ocean scientific submarines, but like if you could like replace maybe mining head with the I don't know, those little hands or something like that, or if you could fly some other ship like such as like whatever that is not made for mining, but you could attach a mining component instead of weapons and use it as a miner, but with like less success than if the ship was actually made for it.
That was the direction that they were going way back, like 2012, 2013, 2014. Was the idea was that like for example, you'd be able to mine with a cutlass if you took off the tractor beam and put on like a mining laser there,
or if the tractor beam just fell off,
which is possible.
And you just had a salvage mining laser.
Yeah,
so why not
just duct tape a mining laser on there in true Drake style. But that was kind of before the era that they started doing more specialized ships. So it's entirely possible that they have kind of moved away from it. And I don't know. I don't really like it. Like I'm okay with there being dedicated and specialist ships, but I don't want, for example, all of like the only ship that can detect minables is a mining ship. I don't want that.
That's how we started this, like because scanning and all that, like.
Right. Yeah.
In my opinion, like anything should be able to mine stuff, to scan, detect stuff. But then, let's say you see there's a mineable, and maybe even what it is. Let's say it's laranite, but if you're not a mining ship, you cannot see the percentage or weight and all that, like because that requires more of a effect.
And I think that should be component locked, not ship locked necessarily, right? So like I think that that should depend more on like what scanners you're running in that ship, like more so like because why shouldn't my cutlass with a dedicated sensor suite that's like designed to pick up mineral like why should that not be able to be equipped in a cutlass instead of only a prospector? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm sure there are ways that they could hand wave it. I just hope they don't. The confusing thing and the reason that we've even jumped into this like ship locked content conversation was because we're getting like different stories. Like even as early as what did you say? Like a couple weeks ago is where they mentioned
last week.
Yeah, something like that. But like, so we've heard that okay, your scanners are supposed to, or like what you can detect with your scanners is supposed to depend on the component, which is, like I said, like that's kind of what I'd like to see. And then we've also heard fairly recently that no, only mining ships will be able to detect minables. And so what is it? Because like, yeah, at any rate, I hope they don't go the ship locked direction. I'm okay with there being specialist ships, but I really don't think that it's going to be fun if you have to use a specialist ship to do anything in a profession. I'm okay with specialist ships doing things better, but I think that they're, for the most part, within reason, there should be an ability to do something at a less good rate with more of an all-purpose ship. Like they even mentioned with a Cutlass, you could do salvaging. It's just it doesn't have like specialized scrap holding compartments and processors and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, like you're just basically going to be shoving ship parts in the cargo hold. And, like the amount that you can hold in there is not going to be the same as if you were in like a Vulture and you'd munched everything down to like scrap.
Immediately, and then like have better like end result. Which again, we talked about this slightly before we started the show, and again, it's something that Eve does so well. Where like we'll take mining for an example, where you can have a mining laser attached to anything that has size 1 laser mount. However, and you can go and find minables, and anything can scan for anything there. But you have cargo hold that is made for cargo, and the problem with this is that minables are so heavy in Eve Online, where like, let's say you can have like one SCU. How do I explain this? It's so hard. Like you can have a huge cargo hold, but the value of minables in that cargo hold is like very, very limited. Where if you have a mining ship, it has specific minables cargo hold, and it can store like 30, 40, 50 times more. I don't know, because it's condensed differently or whatever. So you cannot put anything in the mining cargo hold, but you can put minables into any cargo hold, right? But it just makes no sense, because it's like 5% of what an ship can do with it. And so, but it's still an option. Let's say a mission tells you need like this much laranite, and you're like, oh, okay, I can do that in a Cutlass, which is like armed to teeth, and I just need like one SU of it. So whatever the fuck, I'm just gonna go and do it. For example, just like, but then if I'm actually making profit mining, then I'm gonna go with Argo or whatever, Argo Mole or something like that can actually store a lot of and process. And what we said, like you mentioned, Prospector is supposed to actually remove inert materials and whatnot, right? So
according to the brochure anyways, I don't know if they backtracked on this, but initially the Prospector was supposed to be able to basically eject the less valuable kind of inert materials, and that's why it was able to hold more than an all-purpose ship would be able to hold, because you'd have more pure ore inside of it.
They touched on this in SCL, which was surprising to me since I started playing the game. Dude, I don't know if I can continue because I'm getting so dizzy. Like, okay, basically what we knew immediately that the bags are detachable, and I saw that like they look almost like a couple of SUs of physical as SUs of cargo. And I remember me and Orchid were like, he mines and then detaches that, and I put it in the freelancer and go and sell it, while he's going to just use another bag and go. But actually, they explained in SCL that you take that bag and then empty it into another ship and then put that bag back on Prospector. And I was like, really? That's how you're supposed to do it? It just makes no sense. I thought you just like drop it and keep going, and you have like set of bags that will just like inflate and.
Yeah. You drop it, the guy with the tractor beam grabs it, throws it in the back, and then,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
already packed or whatever. Like that's
I don't know. This is another one of those situations where I feel like it's probably just like it's one way or the other, but it hasn't been finalized yet, and as such, like we're getting conflicting kind of information on that. But I don't know. Anyways, I guess the other stuff we were gonna we can just save that for next week.
Yeah, we were about to talk about other vehicles potentially.
Yeah, because that also did kind of like the whole idea about like ship locked content kind of sparked when we were talking about that part in SCL where they were talking about going underwater with your ships and how like and then we were like, well, in theory you could do that, but like they said like you'd need different engines, right? So or like, do your engines actually work underwater? They didn't actually answer one way or the other, so this is again just full speculation.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we started talking about like ships that are designed for that, or just like instead of just ground vehicles, like actually having boats and watercraft, which
And ships being able to like either glide
I'm pretty
or
sure they I'm pretty sure they yes, they do. Boat movement parameters
yeah, we
finishing this month. Yeah. Yeah, creation and support for new vehicle movement, simulation, and movement types for the use of boats or other aquatic vehicles. Bam!
Nice.
Boats.
But I will apologize and ask for you to like, we should keep this for next time because I'm excited about this topic, and I'm really not in a state to be like excited. I am. I don't know what's wrong with me, but like I'm really not okay. So
okay. We'll skip zero effort. We can save that because I want to do that with Jail anyways.
Oh, okay. Did you talk to Jail about it?
I talked to Jail a little bit about him coming on for a zero effort sometime, and he said he's actually working on a video about cloning and Death of a Spaceman in Star Citizen, and said that around the time where he's wrapping that up, we could talk and see if we can like, you know, do a section on the show about it after he's got his video published.
He's down to join, which would be
really fun. Yeah. Jail, if anybody doesn't know, is a resident kind of crazy person who's learned like a bunch of the languages in SC. He's also a biologist and a nerd. He does a bunch of other like lore kind of podcasts. He does a lore podcast with Paul from the Astropub and Al Garrett as well. And
really good listen as well. But I haven't seen them doing it lately, but few episodes that they did were really freaking good. I hope they continue doing it.
Well, I think he just got married, I think. So
okay.
So it could be busy. Probably busy. But yeah, I think I saw some pictures of that or something on his Twitter. But anyway, stay tuned. We'll hold off on the cloning one until we get Jail on here and Chegg is less passy outy.
I've never felt like that in my life, so I don't know what's happening. I guess I'm just gonna go out for a bit of a fresh air or something, and hopefully that helps me out. I don't know.
Yeah, cross your fingers, man.
Yeah. I'm not feeling too good.
That's not good, man.
All right. Well, then I guess. Did we have any questions though? If we had any questions, I'm definitely down.
No, but Red Rolled has been conversive as usual in the chat, which we thank you for being here, Red Rolled. We appreciate your commentary as well, even if we are live right now and not really being responsive in chat. But yeah, anyways, appreciate you being here. If you have watched to this point on YouTube and you like what you hear, if you wouldn't mind giving us like a little like and a subscription, that makes us feel good, even though we're just pretty much doing this for fun. And we will be back on Wednesday/Thursday, depending on where you are in the world, for Stanton Gossip, where we basically we take a look at just the goings on in the Star Citizen community, gossip on social media, cool videos that we watched and stuff like that.
There's gonna be more this week for sure, because things have happened. Definitely, this will spark a lot of content. I can't wait to listen to Mike's answer call, and I've seen Paul was already recording Captain's Table and all that. So I'm sure a lot of people will jump on and do some content now and then.
This was a good amount of info for sure. So should be good for content. Anyways, probably our shortest episode ever, but this was still fun. Thank you for being here, guys.
It's my fault. I apologize.
How dare you have human
I know,
weakness,
man. I'm looking
Chegg.
forward to Sunday night for this big time, and then I'm just so sad that this is happening. But I really tried, but it's just I don't want to like pass out in the middle of the episode or something. But I'm really not feeling good, so
we'll work on turning Chegg into a cyborg for next episode.
Please do, that would help.
Okay.
Thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you all Wednesday. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.